What happens when one of the most unpredictable artists in the world sits down on live daytime television with a host who never backs down from a heated debate? Make sure to subscribe to Talk Show Fallout and like and comment for more talk show coverage. All right, so the energy is already tense before the segment even starts. You can feel it in the studio. The audience is clapping, but it's not the usual cheerful, relaxed kind of applause. It's more curious, almost cautious. People know something could happen. Joy Behar is already at the table, shuffling her notes, giving that half smile she does when she's preparing to challenge someone. The other hosts are trying to keep things light, but there's a clear awareness in the room. This isn't just another celebrity interview. Then Kanye West walks out. The applause gets louder, but it's mixed, some cheers, some hesitation. Kanye doesn't rush. He walks calmly, looks around the audience, nods slightly, and takes his seat. He doesn't immediately smile. He just sits back, hands folded. Joy leans forward first. "So, Kanye," she says with that familiar tone, "you've been in the headlines again, and not always for your music." A few audience members laugh lightly. Kanye nods slowly. "Yeah, headlines don't always tell the truth, though." Joy doesn't miss a beat. "Well, sometimes they're based on things you actually say." A small ripple of "oh" goes through the audience. Kanye tilts his head. "Or based on how people choose to hear what I say." There's a pause. One of the co-hosts jumps in quickly, trying to ease things. "Let's start with your new project," she says, smiling. "You've got new music coming out, right?" Kanye shifts slightly. "Yeah, new music, new ideas. I'm in a different place creatively." "That's good," she says. "What inspired this one?" "For me," Kanye begins, "it's about freedom. Not just artistic freedom, but freedom of thought. People are too controlled by narratives now." Joy raises her eyebrows slightly. Narratives or accountability? The audience reacts again, a mix of laughter and tension. Kanye looks directly at her now. "See, that's what I'm talking about. You frame it as accountability. I see it as people being told what they're allowed to think." Joy leans back, but she's clearly engaged. "Well, when what someone says affects millions of people, it's not just thinking, it's influence." Kanye nods slowly. "Exactly. Influence. And people are scared of anyone who doesn't follow the script." One of the other hosts tries again to balance things. "But do you understand why some of your comments upset people?" Kanye pauses. "I understand that people are used to hearing one version of things. When someone challenges that, it feels uncomfortable." Joy cuts in sharper now. "Or harmful." There's a louder reaction from the audience this time. Kanye exhales slightly. "See, that word gets used a lot. Harmful. But who decides what's harmful?" Joy responds immediately. "Society does. Common sense does." Kanye shakes his head. "No, media decides. Platforms decide. People in rooms like this decide." That lands. You can feel it. One of the hosts lets out a small, nervous laugh. "Okay, let's not turn this into..." But Joy interrupts. "No, I want to understand this. Are you saying criticism isn't valid?" Kanye leans forward now, more engaged. "I'm saying criticism is fine. But when it becomes shutting people down completely, that's not criticism anymore." Joy crosses her arms slightly. "Or maybe it's consequences." The audience reacts again, louder this time. Kanye looks around briefly, then back at her. "Consequences for what?" "Speaking differently?" "Joy. For saying things that can hurt communities, yes." "Kanye, that's subjective." "Joy, not always." There's a pause. You can feel the tension building now, slowly, naturally. Another host steps in. "Let's bring it back a little. Kanye, you've always been someone who speaks your mind. Do you ever feel misunderstood?" Kanye nods. "All the time. People take one sentence, ignore everything else, and build a whole story." Joy responds quickly. "Or maybe they're reacting to what they hear clearly." Kanye gives a small smile, but it's not warm. "That's your perspective." Joy, and millions of others. Kanye, or millions influenced by the same outlets. The audience lets out another, "Oh." You can see one of the co-hosts glance at the producers off camera for a second. This is getting harder to control. "Okay," she says, trying to reset the tone. "Let's talk about your fans. They've been very supportive through everything." Kanye softens slightly. "My fans understand me. They don't just listen to headlines." Joy mutters, just loud enough. "Some of them don't question enough either." Kanye turns his head sharply. "What does that mean?" Joy shrugs. "It means loyalty doesn't always equal critical thinking." The audience reacts loudly now, some clapping, some gasping. Kanye leans forward, clearly more intense now. So you're saying my fans don't think for themselves? Joy. I'm saying some people follow celebrities without questioning them. Kanye. That happens on this show too. That line hits hard. There's a noticeable shift. Even the co-hosts look slightly stunned. Joy smiles, but it's tighter now. We encourage discussion here. Kanye. As long as it fits a certain direction. Joy. That's not true. Kanye. It feels true. There's a brief silence. One of the hosts quickly jumps in again. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Joy raises her hand slightly. No, I'm fine. I want to keep going. The audience reacts again. They're fully locked in now. Kanye sits back, but his eyes stay on Joy. Yeah, let's keep going. And just like that, what started as a typical interview has clearly turned into something much more serious. The tension is no longer subtle. It's right there on the table, and everyone in the room can feel it. The audience hasn't even fully settled from that last exchange, and you can feel the shift in the room. It's no longer just curiosity. Now it's tension mixed with anticipation. Nobody's clapping anymore. People are leaning forward. Joy adjusts her papers again, but this time it feels more like a reset than preparation. She looks directly at Kanye. All right, she says, more measured now. Since you want to keep going, let's actually go there. Kanye nods once. Let's do it. One of the co-hosts exhales softly, almost like she knows this is about to get harder to control. Maybe we can just keep it respectful and… Joy cuts in, not aggressively, but firmly. It is respectful. This is a conversation. Kanye adds. Quietly, exactly. There's a beat. Joy leans forward. You talk a lot about people controlling narratives. But don't you think, sometimes, what you say feeds into harmful narratives yourself? A few audience members murmur. Kanye doesn't answer immediately this time. He looks down briefly, then back up. I think people hear what they've already been trained to hear. Joy shakes her head slightly. That's a convenient way to avoid responsibility. Audience reacts, a mix of claps and oh. Kanye raises his eyebrows. Or it's a way to point out that people don't think independently as much as they believe they do. Joy. You keep saying that, but it sounds like you're putting yourself above everyone else. Kanye. No, I'm putting thought above reaction. Joy. And you think everyone else is just reacting? Kanye. A lot of people are. That lands heavy. One of the co-hosts jumps in quickly, trying to soften it. I think what Joy is saying is, there's a difference between challenging ideas and making statements that people feel are offensive or dismissive. Kanye turns slightly toward her. I get that, but offense is personal. What offends one person doesn't offend another. Joy responds immediately. But when large groups of people say something is offensive, that matters. Kanye nods slowly. It matters, but it doesn't automatically make it true. The audience splits again, some applause, some groans. Joy leans back, then forward again, clearly not letting this go. So if people say your words hurt them, your response is, what? That they're wrong. Kanye shakes his head. My response is to ask why. Not just accept it blindly. Joy. And when they explain why? Kanye. Then we have a conversation. But a real one, not one where I'm expected to just apologize and disappear. That gets a louder reaction. One audience member claps loudly, while another audibly says, oh wow. Joy hears it, glances briefly toward the audience, then back at Kanye. No one is asking you to disappear. Kanye gives a slight shrug. That's what it feels like sometimes. Joy. Or maybe people are asking you to think before you speak. Kanye leans forward again. I do think. That's the problem. There's a noticeable pause after that. One of the co-hosts lets out a nervous laugh. Okay, that sounded. But Joy interrupts again, this time with a sharper edge. So everyone else isn't thinking, but you are? Kanye. That's not what I said. Joy. It's what it sounds like. Kanye. That's your interpretation. Joy sighs slightly. You keep deflecting like that. Kanye's tone tightens a bit. And you keep simplifying what I'm saying. Audience reacts again, louder this time. Another host tries to step in. Let's just slow this down for a second. Joy raises her hand again, still focused. No, because this is important. Kanye nods. It is. Joy turns slightly toward the audience, then back. People at home are listening to this. And when you say things like people don't think for themselves, that can come across as dismissive and arrogant. Kanye pauses, then speaks more slowly. Or it can come across as a challenge. Joy, a challenge to who? Kanye, to question things. To not just accept whatever is put in front of you. Joy responds quickly. That's exactly what we're doing right now, questioning you. Audience claps. Kanye nods. And I'm answering. Joy, but you're not really answering. You're redirecting. Kanye, I'm explaining. Joy, in a way that avoids accountability. Kanye exhales, leans back for a moment, then sits forward again. You keep using that word. Accountability. It sounds good, but it's often used to shut people up. That line hits. You can hear a mix of reactions, some claps, some sharp inhales. Joy's expression tightens slightly. No. Accountability is what keeps public figures from saying anything without consequences. Kanye. Or it keeps them from saying anything real. The audience reacts louder now. This is no longer a quiet tension. It's active. One of the co-hosts looks visibly uncomfortable. Okay, maybe we can pivot slightly. Kanye, your creative process. Kanye gently raises a hand. No, it's okay. I don't mind this. Joy nods. Good. There's a brief silence again, but it's not empty, it's loaded. Joy speaks again, more deliberate. Do you think you've ever been wrong? That question lands differently. The audience goes quiet. Kanye pauses longer this time. You can see him thinking. Yeah, he says finally. Of course. Joy leans in. About what? Kanye looks at her. About how I communicate sometimes. That's the first moment where the tone shifts slightly. Even the audience reacts differently, softer, more attentive. Joy nods once. Okay, that's fair. But then she adds, so if you know that, why not adjust? Kanye responds calmly, but firmly. I am adjusting, but I'm not going to stop speaking. Joy, no one's asking you to stop speaking. Kanye, it feels like they are. Joy shakes her head. Or maybe they're asking you to listen more. Kanye, I do listen. Joy, then why does it always come back to people don't understand me? Kanye leans forward again, his voice slightly more intense. Because a lot of the time they don't. The audience reacts again, a mix of agreement and frustration. One co-host finally steps in more assertively. Okay, we're getting into a loop here. She smiles, trying to lighten it. Which means it's a real conversation, but we don't want to lose the audience at home. Some laughter breaks the tension slightly. But it doesn't last long. Joy looks at Kanye again, quieter now but still firm. I just think when you have a platform as big as yours, the words matter more than you're acknowledging. Kanye nods slowly. And I think they matter more than you're allowing. That line lands heavy again. The audience reacts, not loudly this time, but with a kind of collective hmm. You can feel it building again. Not explosive yet, but definitely heading there. And everyone at the table knows it. That last exchange hangs in the air longer than anything before it. Nobody jumps in right away this time. Even the audience seems unsure whether to react or just listen. One of the co-hosts finally breaks the silence with a small, careful laugh. Okay, this is definitely one of those interviews people are going to be talking about. A few people in the audience clap lightly, but it's not enough to fully reset the mood. Joy doesn't look away from Kanye. Let me ask you something more direct. She says, do you think the backlash you've faced is unfair? Kanye leans back slightly, then forward again, resting his hands together. Some of it is fair. Some of it isn't. Joy nods. All right. So what part is fair? Kanye answers without hesitation this time. The part where I didn't explain myself clearly enough. The part where I assumed people would understand the bigger picture. There's a slight shift in the audience again, quieter, more attentive. Joy follows up immediately. And the part that isn't fair? Kanye's tone firms up. The part where people take pieces of what I say, strip them of context, and turn them into something else. Joy tilts her head. But Kanye, context doesn't always change impact. Audience reacts, a few claps. Kanye nods slowly. True, but impact isn't always the full truth either. That line lands and creates another wave of mixed reactions. One of the co-hosts jumps in, trying to ground things. I think what people struggle with is, they hear something, and it feels very clear to them. But you're saying there's more behind it. Kanye turns to her. Exactly. There's always more. Joy responds quickly. But you can't expect people to read your mind. Kanye, I don't. I expect them to ask questions. Joy, people are asking questions. That's what this is. Kanye, this is also a lot of assumptions. The audience reacts again, louder now. Joy's tone sharpens slightly. It's not an assumption to react to what you actually say. Kanye leans forward, voice more intense. It is when you decide what I meant without asking me first. Joy, we're asking you right now. Kanye, after the fact. After the narrative is already out there. That hits. You can hear someone in the audience say, "That's true," while another voice says, "No, it's not." The room is split. One co-host raises both hands slightly. Okay, everybody breathe for a second. A few people laugh nervously. But Joy isn't letting it go. You keep using the word narrative like it's this big external thing, she says. But sometimes the narrative is just a reaction. Kanye shakes his head. No, a narrative is when the reaction becomes the only version people hear. Joy, or when the original statement is clear enough that people don't need another version. Kanye pauses, then responds more firmly. That assumes people are always right in how they interpret things. Joy, and you assume they're wrong. Kanye, no. I assume they're influenced. That line triggers another loud reaction. Some applause, some groans. One of the co-hosts leans in, clearly trying to redirect before things escalate further. Let's talk about influence then, she says. Because both of you are talking about it from different angles. She turns to Kanye. You have a massive influence. Do you ever feel a responsibility to be more careful with your words? Kanye answers more calmly this time. I feel a responsibility to be honest. Joy responds immediately. Honesty without care can still cause harm. Kanye, care without honesty can create illusions. The audience reacts loudly again. This is one of those lines people remember. Even one of the co-hosts goes, okay, but Joy jumps in. So you think people who are careful with their words aren't being honest? Kanye shakes his head. I think sometimes people say what's safe instead of what's true. Joy, and you think you always say what's true? Kanye, I say what I believe is true. Joy, that's not the same thing. Kanye leans forward again, eyes locked on her. It is for the person saying it. There's a pause. A heavy one. The audience is completely quiet now. Joy speaks more slowly. But when your truth affects other people, it becomes bigger than just you. Kanye nods slightly. I agree with that. Joy seems slightly surprised by the quick agreement. Okay, so then what? Kanye continues. So then we talk about it. Like this. Joy, but you don't always talk with people. Sometimes it feels like you talk at people. That line lands sharply. The audience reacts again, a mix of claps and oh. Kanye takes a breath, then responds. And sometimes people listen to respond, not to understand. Joy leans back, then forward again. That goes both ways. Kanye nods. It does. For a brief moment, there's almost a sense of balance. One of the co-hosts quickly tries to build on that. Okay, that's something both of you agree on. But Joy adds, but agreement doesn't erase the impact. And just like that, the tension comes back. Kanye's expression tightens slightly. Impact gets decided very quickly these days. Joy, because things spread quickly. Kanye, and get distorted quickly. Joy, or revealed quickly. Kanye lets out a short breath, almost a half laugh, but there's no humor in it. You see it one way. I see it another. Joy, that's obvious. The audience reacts again, some laughter, some tension. One co-host glances toward the producers again, clearly aware that this segment has gone far beyond a typical interview. All right, she says, trying to regain some structure. We are almost out of time. But the audience groans loudly. They don't want it to end. Joy hears that and looks back at Kanye. See, people are engaged. Kanye nods slightly. People like real conversations. Joy, or real conflict. Kanye, sometimes they're the same thing. That line lands as one of the strongest so far. The audience reacts loudly, applause, whistles, a few people standing slightly in their seats. You can feel it now. This isn't just tense anymore. It's fully chaotic, not in a loud, shouting way, but in that layered, unpredictable live TV way where anything could still happen in the next few seconds. And nobody at that table looks completely in control of it anymore. The applause lingers longer than usual, but it's uneven. Some people are clapping hard, others are just sitting there, processing everything they just watched. You can feel it. This wasn't a normal segment, and everyone in the room knows it. One of the co-hosts tries to bring things back into a closing tone. All right, well, this has definitely been a conversation. A few nervous laughs ripple through the audience. Joy exhales, then looks at Kanye again. Her tone shifts slightly, not softer, but less sharp than before. Look, we're not going to agree on everything. Kanye nods. We don't have to. Joy. But I do think these conversations matter. Kanye. I agree. There's a brief pause, and for the first time, it doesn't feel like a standoff. It feels like both of them are aware the segment is ending. Joy adds, I just hope people listening understand that words carry weight. Kanye responds calmly, and I hope people understand that questioning things matters too. The audience reacts, a mix of applause but not explosive. It's more thoughtful now. One of the co-hosts smiles, trying to wrap things up cleanly. And that's why we have discussions like this. She turns slightly toward the camera. Kanye, thank you for being here. Kanye nods. Thanks for having me. But just as it seems like the moment is settling, Joy adds one more line. And maybe next time, she says with a slight half-smile, we'll get through a full segment without going to battle. The audience laughs, some louder than others. Kanye gives a small smile back. That depends on the questions. That gets another reaction, a mix of laughter and claps. The co-host quickly jumps in, sensing the perfect moment to end. All right, we're going to leave it there. For now, Joy adds. The camera pulls slightly wider. The audience applauds again, but it's not the same kind of applause from the beginning. This one feels heavier, like people are still thinking. As the show cuts to a quick transition, you can see the hosts shifting in their seats. Papers are moved, someone takes a sip of coffee, another host leans toward Joy and says something off mic that makes her shake her head slightly. Kanye sits back, adjusting his posture, looking out toward the audience for a moment before glancing back at the table. The cameras are technically off the main segment now, but the energy hasn't dropped. A few audience members are still reacting, some nodding, some whispering to each other. One person near the front shakes their head, while another is still clapping lightly. Behind the scenes, you can see a producer step closer to the stage area, giving a subtle signal that they need to move on to the next segment. One of the co-hosts leans toward Kanye, speaking quietly. That got intense. Kanye gives a small nod. Yeah. Joy adjusts her microphone slightly and leans back in her chair. She doesn't look angry, more like she's still processing. Another host tries to lighten the mood. Well, you definitely woke everybody up today. That gets a small laugh from the table. Kanye responds, that's usually what happens. There's a brief pause, and then Joy says, quieter now. I meant what I said, though. Kanye looks at her. I know. Joy nods once. Okay, it's not a resolution, but it's not escalation either. It's that strange in-between you often see after a real argument on live TV. Meanwhile, the audience is still buzzing. As the show moves forward, clips of the exchange are already being replayed on the monitors in the studio. You can see short moments, the narrative line, the accountability exchange, the people don't think independently moment. Even off-air, those lines are hitting. And it doesn't take long before the reaction starts building outside the studio. Within minutes, producers are checking their phones. Social media is already lighting up. One staff member whispers to another, it's trending. Another responds, of course it is. Back at the table, one of the co-hosts glances at a screen and quietly says, yeah, people are definitely reacting. Joy looks over briefly, but doesn't say anything. Kanye, on the other hand, gives a slight nod, almost like he expected it. As the show wraps up its final segment and the closing music begins, the audience gives one last round of applause. Louder this time, but still mixed in tone. Some people stand. Some don't. When the cameras officially cut, the atmosphere loosens just a bit, but not completely. Audience members begin to file out, and you can hear snippets of conversation. Did you hear what he said about narratives? She wasn't wrong, though. That got way more serious than I expected. I couldn't tell who I agreed with. On stage, the hosts gather their things. One of them pats Joy lightly on the arm. Another gives Kanye a polite handshake. There's no big dramatic exit. No shouting. No final blow-up. Just that lingering, unresolved energy that comes from a real disagreement. Later that day, clips from the interview are everywhere. Short videos, reaction posts, people debating back and forth. Some are siding with Joy, saying she held him accountable. Others are defending Kanye, saying he was being misunderstood. And a lot of people are saying the same thing. That didn't feel scripted. That felt real. That's what live TV is supposed to be. By the evening, headlines are already forming around the exchange, focusing on specific lines, specific moments, breaking the conversation into pieces again. Exactly the kind of thing they were arguing about. And that's what makes it stick. Because the conversation didn't really end when the show did. It just moved somewhere else. back to the audience, back to the viewers, back to everyone watching and forming their own opinions. And now it shifts to you. What do you think? Was it a necessary conversation, or did it go too far? Was it honest, or just chaotic? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to Talk Show Fallout for more real talk show stories.